Kitchener stitch is a method of grafting two sets of stitches together without a visible join. To work the Kitchener stitch, you should have half of your stitches on one needle and half of your stitches on the other needle. It doesn't matter if there is an odd or even number of stitches on each needle, so long as each needle has the same number of stitches on it. Your two needles should be held one in front of the other with both tips pointing to the right, and your yarn tail should be attached to the farthest right stitch on the back needle. The first thing that you are going to do is thread your yarn tail through a darning needle. Then you are going to work two setup moves. Firstly, you are going to insert your darning needle into the first stitch on the front needle as if to purl. Pull the tail all the way through the stitch but leave the stitch on the needle. Second, you insert your darning needle through the first stitch on the back needle as if to knit. Again, pull the tail all the way through the stitch, leaving the stitch on the needle. That completes the setup, and you are ready to work the 4-step Kitchener repeat. The first step is inserting your darning needle into the first stitch on the front needle as if to knit and slipping it off of the needle. The second step is to insert your darning needle into the next stitch on the front needle as if to purl. Leaving this stitch on the needle, you pull your tail all the way through the stitch. The third step is to insert your darning needle into the first stitch on your back needle as if to purl and slipping the stitch off of the needle. And the fourth step is to insert your darning needle into the next stitch on the back needle as if to knit. Leaving the stitch on the needle, you pull your tail all the way through the stitch. And then you repeat those 4 steps. Darning needle through the first stitch on the front needle knitwise, slipping the stitch off, and then through the next stitch on the front needle purlwise, leaving the stitch on the needle and pulling the tail through. Then, darning needle through the first stitch on the back needle purlwise, slipping the stitch off the needles. Then darning needle through the next stitch on the back needle knitwise, leaving the stitch on the needle and pulling the tail through. A little phrase that you can repeat to yourself to remember each step is knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. So you just keep repeating those 4 steps until you have 1 stitch left on each needle. With the final 2 stitches, you are just going to insert your darning needle into the stitch on the front needle knitwise and slip the stitch off the needle. Then insert your darning needle into the stitch on the back needle purlwise, slip the stitch off the needle and pull your tail all of the way through. To thread your tail through to the inside of your work, insert your darning needle into the base of the final stitches which were grafted together and pull the tail through. And here is your grafted edge.